All right, here's what the models are showing us this morning, and I want to be upfront with you. Some of these numbers are significant. We're tracking conditions across 80 cities right now, and there's one particular setup developing in the Carolinas that has every forecaster paying close attention. Syracuse is looking at potentially a foot of snow. Buffalo could see 10 inches. And Charlotte, a city that rarely sees serious winter weather, is facing 8 to 12 inches. When you see those kinds of numbers in the Southeast, you know we're dealing with something that doesn't happen every year, and that's exactly why we need to break this down carefully. Now, before I get into the specifics, I want to hear from you. Drop your city in the comments because your ground-level observations help verify what the models are predicting. If you have family in any of these cities I'm about to mention, this might be a good time to give them a call after watching this, especially if they're in the higher risk zones. So let me show you what's happening based on the 6 a.m. model runs from both the European and GFS models, and honestly, they're in pretty good agreement on the overall pattern. That agreement gives us higher confidence in these numbers than we sometimes have, which is why I think it's important to take this forecast seriously. We've got 3 distinct weather zones setting up across the country, and depending on where you are, you could be looking at very different situations. The first zone is the Great Lakes, where that lake effect snow machine is cranking up to levels we haven't seen in several weeks. The second zone is the Mid-Atlantic and Carolinas, where that potential nor'easter track could deliver the kind of snow totals these areas simply aren't equipped to handle. And the third zone is the upper Midwest, where we're dealing with the kind of bitter cold that becomes genuinely dangerous for anyone spending extended time outdoors. Now, here's why I want to start with the areas of highest concern first. Because if you're in these zones, you need to be preparing now, not tomorrow. Charlotte is staring down 8 to 12 inches of heavy snow. And for a city where most people don't own snow shovels, that's a genuine problem. Temperatures will be running 25 to 40 degrees. Cold enough that this snow will stick and accumulate rapidly on roads that aren't pre-treated for this kind of weather. If you have elderly parents in Charlotte or the surrounding areas, this is the time to check in and make sure they have supplies and a plan. Raleigh is in an even more concerning position with 6 to 10 inches expected, and that research triangle traffic is going to be a nightmare if people wait too long to get home. When cities in the South get this kind of snow, we typically see accidents spike because drivers simply don't have experience with these conditions. Richmond is looking at 4 to 6 inches with temperatures 30 to 45 degrees, enough to create significant travel disruptions across central Virginia. Virginia Beach could see 3 to 5 inches of that heavier coastal snow. And if you're near the water, wind-driven snow could reduce visibility to near zero at times. Greensboro is expecting 4 to 6 inches as well, and the Piedmont Triad could see some of the worst road conditions they've experienced this winter. The thing about southern snowstorms that concerns me most isn't even the snow totals, it's the ice that often comes with them. These systems can produce a layer of freezing rain before the snow starts, and that ice underneath makes every inch of snow on top twice as dangerous. So for everyone from Virginia down through the Carolinas, please, if you don't have to travel during the worst of this, just stay home. Now let me shift to the Great Lakes region, because what's developing there is impressive even by their standards. And these folks know winter. Syracuse is the bullseye for the heaviest lake effect snow, with those intense snow bands potentially dropping 8 to 12 inches, possibly more in the Tug Hill Plateau. At temperatures of 15 to 25 degrees, this is the light, fluffy snow that piles up fast. And if you're in the path of those bands, it can snow 2 to 3 inches per hour. The tricky thing with lake effect is that your neighbor 5 miles away might get 12 inches while you only see 3. It's all about where those bands lock in. Buffalo is expecting 10 inches, and for Buffalo, that's honestly just a regular February, but it doesn't mean you can let your guard down. If you haven't cleared your roof from previous storms, adding another 10 inches of snow load could put stress on older structures, especially flat roof buildings. Rochester is looking at 5 to 8 inches with windy conditions at 18 to 28 degrees. So expect blowing and drifting snow that'll make the plows work overtime. Cleveland is right in the heart of the lake effect zone with 4 to 8 inches expected. And that east side, west side split we always see could be dramatic again. If you're on the east side of Cleveland, you could easily see double what the west side gets. That's just how lake effect works with Lake Erie's fetch. Grand Rapids is also in line for 5 to 8 inches of lake effect snow from Lake Michigan, with temperatures running 15 to 25 degrees. For the folks in West Michigan, you know the drill, but this one could be a bit more persistent than the quick-hitting systems we've seen recently. Toledo is expecting 3 to 5 inches at 20 to 30 degrees, enough to make the morning commute challenging but manageable with some extra time. Detroit is on the edge of the lake effect zone with 2 to 4 inches possible, and temperatures 15 to 25 degrees will keep that snow around for a while. Milwaukee is dealing with 3 to 5 inches of lake snow at 10 to 20 degrees, and that wind off Lake Michigan is going to make it feel significantly colder. Now here's where I need to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, and that's the dangerous cold setting up across the upper Midwest. Minneapolis is locked in at minus 5 to 10 degrees, and at these temperatures, exposed skin can develop frostbite in under 10 minutes. The good news is no new snow is expected, but honestly, when it's that cold, the last thing you want to do is add snow removal to your outdoor exposure time. If you have family in the Twin Cities, especially elderly parents or grandparents, a quick phone call to check in would be a good idea today. Des Moines is frozen solid at 0 to 15 degrees with no active storms, but that kind of sustained cold puts real stress on heating systems and frozen pipes. For homeowners in Iowa, make sure you know where your main water shutoff is, because if a pipe bursts at 2 a.m., you need to act fast. Omaha is feeling that same Arctic air at 5 to 15 degrees with light snow possible, and wind chills could push the feels-like temperature well below zero. Madison has a snow risk of 2 to 4 inches at 5 to 20 degrees, and the combination of snow and bitter cold makes for tough conditions. Now, I want to take a moment to give you some context on the broader pattern, because understanding why this is happening helps you prepare for what's coming next. The jet stream is highly amplified right now, which creates these extreme contrasts: bitter cold in one region and mild conditions just a few states away. That's why you can have Minneapolis at minus 5 degrees while Miami is enjoying 75. It's not random. It's the result of this wavy jet stream pattern. Looking at the European model and the GFS, both are suggesting this active pattern will continue through the rest of February. So this likely won't be our last significant system. Let me continue with the rest of the Northeast, because there's important information for the major metro areas along the I-95 corridor. New York City is looking at relatively quiet conditions with light snow possible and temperatures 25 to 35 degrees. Nothing that should cause major disruptions. That said, the city that never sleeps should keep an eye on that Carolina system, because if it tracks farther north than expected, the situation could change quickly. Philadelphia is calm with minimal snow and temperatures 28 to 38 degrees. A good opportunity to enjoy a relatively mild February day by Northeast standards. Boston is the exception in the Northeast, with a clipper system that could drop 3 to 4 inches, and temperatures 20 to 30 degrees will keep it cold enough to stick. For my New England viewers, this is manageable snow, but coming on top of what's already on the ground, you might be running out of places to put it. Hartford is expecting 4 to 7 inches of accumulating snow at 20 to 30 degrees, and the interior of Connecticut often gets more than the coast. Worcester, being at higher elevation, could see 5 to 8 inches with temperatures 18 to 28 degrees, so central Massachusetts should prepare for a meaningful snowfall. Providence is on the edge of that nor'easter track with 3 to 5 inches possible and temperatures 22 to 32 degrees, though totals could increase if the storm tracks closer. Albany is looking at moderate snow of 4 to 6 inches at 20 to 30 degrees. Pretty typical fare for the capital region, but enough to keep the plows busy. Baltimore is expecting light snow flurries with no major accumulation and temperatures 30 to 40 degrees, so the D.C.-Baltimore corridor should have relatively easy travel. Washington, D.C. is looking at a clipper bringing 2 to 4 inches with temperatures 25 to 35 degrees. And you know how the Beltway gets even with light snow. Newark and Jersey City are both seeing light snow and flurries at 25 to 35 degrees. Nothing too concerning for the New York metro area. Pittsburgh is getting some lake effect snow showers with 1 to 3 inches and temperatures 25 to 35 degrees. But nothing the Steel City can't handle. Bridgeport on the Connecticut coast could see 2 to 4 inches with temperatures 28 to 38 degrees, and coastal winds might cause some blowing and drifting. Allentown and Scranton in Pennsylvania are looking at 1 to 6 inches, depending on your exact location, with temperatures in the mid-20s to mid-30s. Now let me address the Midwest cities that aren't in the extreme cold zone, because conditions there are more manageable, but still worth monitoring. Chicago is dealing with Arctic conditions and light snow at 10 to 20 degrees, and that wind off the lake is what really makes it feel brutal. For Chicagoans, you've been through worse. But don't underestimate these temperatures, especially if you're waiting for public transit or walking to work. Indianapolis is seeing snow flurries and cold temperatures of 20 to 30 degrees. Nothing major, but enough to keep roads a little slick. St. Louis is at 15 to 25 degrees with light snow possible, and the gateway city is right on the edge between the worst of the cold and the milder air to the south. Columbus is expecting snow showers with 1 to 3 inches at 20 to 30 degrees. And Central Ohio should see pretty typical February conditions. Cincinnati is dealing with light snow and windy conditions at 25 to 35 degrees, and that wind through the river valley can really cut through you. Kansas City is in a cold snap at 15 to 25 degrees with minimal snow, a big change from the spring-like weather they had just last week. That kind of temperature swing, going from the 60s down to the teens, can catch people off guard if they got too comfortable during the warm spell. Fort Wayne is cold with light snow at 15 to 25 degrees, and the combination of cold temperatures and snow showers makes for icy conditions. Akron is seeing snow showers with 2 to 4 inches and temperatures 20 to 30 degrees. And northeastern Ohio knows how to deal with this kind of weather. Dayton has flurries possible with temperatures 25 to 35 degrees, and for the Miami Valley, it's a pretty standard February setup. Now let me shift to the south, where conditions are much calmer. And honestly, a lot of you are probably wondering why you ever left for colder climates. Houston is sitting comfortably at 50 to 65 degrees with mild conditions and no winter weather in the forecast, which sounds pretty good right about now. Dallas is a bit chilly by Texas standards at 40 to 55 degrees with light flurries possible. Nothing that should cause any real concern for DFW. Atlanta is the one southern city I'm watching carefully because there's a freezing risk and rare possibility of light snow at 35 to 50 degrees. Atlanta doesn't need much ice to turn into a traffic nightmare. We all remember what happened in 2014, so even a little frozen precipitation is worth taking seriously. Miami is enjoying 70 to 80 degrees with no winter concerns whatsoever. And for my friends in South Florida, feel free to skip ahead a bit. New Orleans is experiencing a mild cold snap at 45 to 60 degrees with no winter weather expected. Pretty comfortable conditions for the Big Easy. Austin is cool but pleasant at 45 to 60 degrees. And Central Texas is enjoying a nice break from any weather-related stress. San Antonio is mild at 50 to 65 degrees, and the Alamo City should see easy conditions for anyone planning outdoor activities. Jacksonville is chilly with possible flurries at 50 to 65 degrees, which is about as wintry as Northeast Florida typically gets. Memphis is dealing with a cold wave and light snow at 30 to 45 degrees. And the Mid-South is on the northern edge of where conditions start getting more serious. Nashville is freezing with 1 to 3 inches of snow expected at 25 to 40 degrees. And Music City should take this one seriously given the hilly terrain. Those hills and curves around Nashville can become treacherous with even a little snow and ice. So allow extra travel time or avoid driving if possible. Louisville's seeing snow showers with 2 to 4 inches at 25 to 40 degrees, and the Derby City is no stranger to February snow. Birmingham has a rare snow chance with cold temperatures of 35 to 50 degrees, and any accumulation in Alabama is worth paying attention to. Oklahoma City is cold at 25 to 40 degrees with light snow, and central Oklahoma is on the edge of where the more serious winter weather ends. Tulsa is freezing with flurries at 20 to 35 degrees, and Green Country should keep an eye on bridges and overpasses that freeze first. Tampa and Orlando are enjoying 55 to 75 degrees with no winter concerns, so Central Florida is in good shape for the week ahead. Now let's head out west because there's a different story developing there. And it's actually good news for regions that desperately need moisture. Los Angeles is mild at 55 to 70 degrees with no significant weather expected. Typical Southern California conditions that make everyone jealous. San Francisco could see some rain at 50 to 65 degrees, and any precipitation in the Bay Area is welcome given the ongoing drought concerns. Seattle is looking at a wet snow mix with 1 to 2 inches possible at 35 to 50 degrees. Enough to get Seattle drivers nervous, but not a major event. Portland has possible snow with light accumulation at 35 to 50 degrees, and the Pacific Northwest is getting some much-needed moisture from this system. Denver is seeing snow showers with 3 to 5 inches at 20 to 35 degrees, and the Mile High City handles this kind of accumulation routinely. Colorado Springs is in a similar situation with 3 to 5 inches at 20 to 35 degrees, and the Pikes Peak region should see manageable conditions. Salt Lake City has a snow risk of 2 to 4 inches at 25 to 40 degrees, and any snow in Utah is good news for the ski resorts and water supply. Phoenix is dry and mild at 55 to 70 degrees, enjoying that desert winter weather that brings so many snowbirds down from the north. Las Vegas is cool at 45 to 60 degrees with no snow in the valley, though the mountains around Vegas could see some light accumulation. San Diego is mild at 55 to 70 degrees with no weather concerns. Pretty much perfect conditions for America's finest city. San Jose is rainy at 50 to 65 degrees, and the South Bay is getting some of that moisture that California desperately needs. Sacramento is seeing cool rain at 45 to 60 degrees, and the Central Valley will take any precipitation it can get right now. Fresno is mild at 45 to 60 degrees with no significant weather expected. Typical conditions for the San Joaquin Valley. Albuquerque is cold with light snow possible at 30 to 45 degrees, and New Mexico is on the edge of the active weather pattern. Tucson is dry at 50 to 65 degrees, enjoying quiet desert conditions with no winter weather concerns. Boise is seeing light snow and cold conditions at 25 to 40 degrees, and the Treasure Valley should see moderate accumulations possible. Spokane is looking at 4 to 6 inches of snow at 20 to 35 degrees, and the Inland Northwest knows how to handle this kind of weather. Tacoma has wet snow possible with 1 to 3 inches at 35 to 50 degrees, similar to what Seattle is expecting from this system. Reno has possible light snow at 30 to 45 degrees, and the biggest little city is on the edge of the moisture moving through. Anchorage is dealing with heavy snow of 10 to 15 inches at 10 to 20 degrees. But for Alaska, that's just part of the winter experience. Honolulu is enjoying 70 to 85 degrees with no winter concerns. And if you're watching from Hawaii, you're probably wondering why the rest of us don't just move there. Henderson near Las Vegas is seeing mild desert conditions at 45 to 60 degrees with no snow expected in the valley. Plano in the Dallas area is cool at 40 to 55 degrees with light flurries possible, similar to what the rest of DFW is experiencing. Now that we've covered all 80 cities, let me give you the big picture on what to expect over the next 48 to 72 hours. The highest impact areas are clearly the Carolinas and Virginia, where that nor'easter could deliver significant snow to cities that aren't used to handling it. The Great Lakes region will continue to see impressive lake effect snow, but these are areas with the equipment and experience to manage it effectively. The upper Midwest needs to stay vigilant about the dangerous cold because frostbite and hypothermia are real risk at these temperatures. Here's what I want everyone in the affected areas to do over the next 24 hours, because preparation now is much easier than dealing with an emergency later. First, if you're in the Carolinas or Virginia, get your supplies today, not tomorrow morning when everyone else has the same idea. That means bread, milk, medications, and anything else you can't go a few days without, because stores will be picked clean once this gets closer. Second, make sure your phones and devices are fully charged, and know where your flashlights and batteries are in case of power outages. Third, if you're in the bitter cold zone across the upper Midwest, check your heating system now and know the signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. More people are hurt by improper use of space heaters and generators than by the cold itself, so please use caution with any backup heating. Fourth, and this is important, check on your elderly neighbors and family members, especially those who live alone. A quick phone call or knock on the door can literally save someone's life during extreme weather events, and it takes just a few minutes. Fifth, if you have pets, please make sure they have warm shelter and access to unfrozen water, because they're counting on us to take care of them. Now let me share what the models are showing for the week ahead, because this pattern isn't done with us yet. Both the European and GFS models are indicating another potential system developing toward the end of next week, so this could be the first of several. The good news is that the worst of the cold in the upper Midwest should moderate somewhat after this weekend, though temperatures will remain below average. For the West Coast, we're seeing signs of an atmospheric river event potentially developing, which would bring much needed rain and mountain snow. That's important because the Sierra Nevada snowpack is running well below normal, and we need those big mountain storms to build it back up. I'll have updated numbers as the next model runs come in, typically every 6 to 12 hours, and if anything significant changes, I'll get that information to you right away. Now I want to take a moment to ask for your help, because your ground level observations are incredibly valuable for everyone watching. If you're in the Great Lakes region, drop a comment and let me know how those lake effect bands are setting up in your area. If you're in the Carolinas, tell me what you're hearing from local officials and what preparations you're making. If you're in the upper Midwest dealing with the bitter cold, share your conditions so we can all understand how widespread this extreme cold really is. And if you have family or friends in any of these high impact areas, please share this information with them so they can prepare. That's what community is all about, looking out for each other when conditions get dangerous. And right now, a lot of people need that information. I read every single comment, and your local perspectives help me provide better forecast and help other viewers understand what's really happening on the ground. If you found this forecast helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next update, because this pattern is going to keep us busy through the rest of February. I'll have another comprehensive breakdown out within 12 hours as the new model data comes in and we get a clearer picture of that Carolina storm. Stay safe out there, take the preparation seriously, and remember that the inconvenience of preparing now is nothing compared to dealing with an emergency later. We'll get through this together just like we always do, but let's be smart about it. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next update.